All right, everyone, welcome. This little video cast, we have had some podcasts in the past, and we're certainly linked to those, but we're very grateful that we've had a couple of, well, more than a couple, a few new faces come and join Into Connecticut in the winter time, and certainly for the spring. And this video cast, as it were, or information video, is basically for those new players and a refresher really for our existing players. This kind of format has been great during COVID, and it's kept players engaged, either through webinars that we've done or the online chat. But this is certainly now more for the parents rather than the players. For those of you that don't know, my name's Leon Othen. I run Into Connecticut along with Ashley here, Tom, and Marty, and I'm sure they'll give their little bits. Marty, just a quick one on, as the owner of the club, just quick explanation on what you do.
I lean on it, Leon, for to do everything for me. I oversee the boys' high school for the most part. The transition from pre-high school into high school. Most recently, we've had a bump in our girls' teams. Have lent on Ashley to help and assist with the directorship of the girls' teams at the high school age. Behind the scenes, it's kind of pushing for growth in operations and trying to get the ball rolling with a lot of projects that we've been working on. I'm also a college coach, and I help with the transition of our players from club into college.
Excellent. Tom, yourself?
Yeah, it's similar to Matty, but I look after the guys pre-high school. So kind of take them from Leon when he's been working with them at the younger age group, and then when they get into our U9 environment, all the way through to the pre-high school. Kind of looked after all the younger boys, and with Ashley coming on and really helping us grow the girls program, I help her manage that as well, and then also make sure we have enough programs for new players looking to join us, clinics. And I also do the summer programs for the camps as well. So I know it's not on there yet, but the summer programs will be going on our website very soon.
And lastly, Ashley.
I'm Ashley Kaufman. I'm basically helping grow the girl side of Inter, from bringing in girls, to answering any questions, as well as, started to bring in girls programs for the summer, which we're bringing in college coaches to help us out, as well as guiding the girls through, the recruiting process and just giving them the best experience.
Fantastic. So I'm going to, we put it out a couple of questions, and these are questions that myself, Tom, Marty, or Ashley have had in the last couple of weeks, and we did put something out for a few more questions. So without further ado, and just for everyone's sanity, so they don't have to keep listening to me, I'm going to go straight with the questions. And the first one we got is, you don't seem to have A or B teams. What's the difference between NEC and NAC, which we probably, there's quite alien though, NEC, NAC. I'll give that over to you, Marty.
Yeah, no problem. I think whenever we took over, I think the goal was to make sure that everybody had the same experience and the same opportunity. As Everton America existed, there used to be distinct A and B teams throughout the age groups. And what that often meant was that for pretty much the same fee, the A team would get more practices, more opportunities. The B team was just seen as like a supplemental team that didn't get the same experience. And for us, the soccer experience is massively important. We existed as a club in the NPL, and were most recently invited into the National League. So when we get the 11v11, we compete in both the NAC and the NEC, as well as the EDP. And the goal of the NAC and NEC is to make sure that players are on a good college pathway, both male and female. Geographically, we find ourselves situated at the northernmost point of the NAC, which is the North Atlantic Conference. in the southernmost point of the NEC, which is the New England Conference. So we have the geographical benefit of being able to compete in both. And from a club perspective, we have the status and stature to be invited into both. So we took that on. Now, and you'll see that some of our teams across the age groups are competing at both the National League level, North Atlantic Conference, and National League level, New England Conference, at the same age. For example, our O4s, our U19s, and so on and so forth. So basically what that is, it's a platform that's puts a lot of players into the collegiate kind of pathway and gets them opportunities to play college soccer where more localized leagues don't get that exposure. As a National League club, we have to go to specific showcases mandated by the league. So there's a lot of kind of things we have to adhere to maintain our status within that league, but ultimately it's not something that's afforded to every club. And because of the growth of our club and because of how we've performed in the NPL, that's why we were invited into the National League, and that's why we have the platform for everybody to kind of get to that level. For the younger teams, the NAC, NEC, and if there's the very younger teams, an EDP group, it's basically a pyramid that kind of gets all those teams on the National League pathway. So the NAC and NEC are basically National League pathways in two different jurisdictions that as a club we're working to get all of our players into, so they compete at the highest level, get to the best showcase tournaments, get exposure to college coaches, and then with all the data stuff that we're doing behind, kind of really prepare them for as close to a professional experience at the young age as possible. But long answer short, I think the NAC and NEC are the exact same when it gets to the pathway. It was just where it used to be MPL and CCSL were distinct A and B teams. The NAC and NEC are parallel right now, but just one playing north, one playing south.
And just say, Tom, for example, with your group, they're the younger boys, and actually with the girls. If they say NAC right now, it doesn't mean you're going to be going down to the Atlantic coast right now, and it doesn't. There's going to be a lot of movement, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
there's transition. There's double rosters. Sorry, Tom, I'll just kind of lead in first. Even at the high school ages, there will be transition from NAC to NEC. We take into account everything from geographical location where players are coming from to play for us. If we have a kid in Madison, we're not going to put them on the NAC team. We'll put them on the NEC team because their games are in Rhode Island and Mass. And then as we push on to Tom, like all those kids are just on that pathway. The teams will figure themselves out as we get there. Tom, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, no, my point, just again to touch on the 2010s, because it's my age group that I work with. As Marty was saying, two teams, the NAC and NEC, come the 11v11 format. Because we're trying to get to the bigger size rosters at 11v11, it just means that we have a few extra, the field size is different. So, for example, our U9s and U10s, they play 7v7. So you might see an EDP team in there, but that's just because we can't have a roster play 9v9 that has 20 kids on the roster, for example, because one, we can't take that many to games, and two, you're not really going to get meaningful game time. So that's the main reason why we have that EDP team. But at the end of the day, everyone's, aiming towards that point when we get to the National League level where we have enough teams then to have two really, really good competitive teams, because we've got your meaningful game time when you've been on the younger sizes of 7v7, 5v5, 9v9 format.
Yeah, it's a good point that Tom makes. It used to be at Everton, we weren't really prepared. They pushed the kids to the elite level at the high school ages because we would have one U9 team, one U10 team, and then would expect to field one U18 team, which was 11v11, and roster sizes, it doesn't calculate properly, so having a bigger pool of players that filter into two competitive teams at the high school level basically allows us to manage their development more, as opposed to recruiting players from outside the club once we get to the high school ages.
And then Ashley, at the moment, I know we're going to move on to the girls program. They're just NAC at the moment. So as and when we get into the National League, that would be geographically where we would probably be, right?
Yeah, so right now, majority of the girls are in Southern Connecticut. So once we start to grow and bring in more, they'll be transitioned into the NEC.
Cool. I'm going to move on to the next question. And it's more of a relevant question for this spring. It's why are we not playing any New York teams this fall? NAC would have been New York teams as well. Why are we not playing any team? Oh, I think they meant in the spring. Why are we not playing any New York teams this spring? Tom, you're in the league with the league there, right?
Yeah, I'll take care of that. Mainly, one of my roles here is to register the league and make sure all our teams are in the right brackets and where they need to be. The simple answer is when we registered these teams back in that was right when we was go back into lockdown. We didn't know when the lockdown opened and if we could into New York. For those guys that played in the National League in the fall will remember that we wasn't allowed to travel to New York then. They actually had to come to play us. So we had to play all of our home games in the fall, which left us having to be this spring. We would have to go and play all of our games in New York. Knowing that we'd just been put back on lockdown, we just thought safest thing, make sure these guys are guaranteed to be playing. So we registered these guys instead of playing in what would be the bracket that Marty just talked about, the North Atlantic one. We didn't have the same travel restrictions for us to play in the New England Conference. So just for it'll be the 2008 and 2007 NAC teams. They're actually going to play against more of Rhode Island-based teams and Connecticut-based teams just for this year. When, like Marty mentioned before, we were one of the founding members when we moved over from the NPL into the EDP. So the goal come next fall is to get our guys back playing in that New York bracket against the guys from Westchester County, from Manhattan out onto Long Island, even into the Hudson Valley. So that's the goal, to get back there. But like we were saying, when we had to register these teams, we just didn't know if we were going to be allowed to go to New York. So we just wanted to secure guaranteed games, and that was inside Connecticut and into Rhode Island.
How does that affect the same thing for your teams, Marty, right?
Yeah, well, it's kind of an intriguing one because we have teams that compete in both the NAC and the NEC divisions. Those divisions were kind of boxed off by the league, so we weren't allowed to travel into New York nor Massachusetts. So those teams that are in the NEC travel north to Rhode Island and Mass, and our teams in the NAC travel into New York, now find themselves competing against each other in a Connecticut-centric league. So where they would be typically going north and south and competing in their own divisions, the structure of the divisions have changed so much that for this season only, we're basically playing against Connecticut and Rhode Island teams. So in a couple of our age groups, there will be league games where our teams compete against one another, which will be interesting.
And this is, like Tom said, this is just a one-off, really, just for this spring.
Yeah, it's all COVID enforced, of course, and see how we get through the summer, and hopefully, with light at the end of the tunnel, next season looks a little bit more normal on all fronts.
Cool. And then, just so people know, because there are other teams that we're playing against with a national league status, but there's a difference between like club-based and team-based, correct? Yeah.
So again, because of our kind of status within the NPL and our invitation over to the National League, we were invited to the National League North Atlantic Conference from a club-based perspective, which means our teams were automatically offered the opportunity to play in the National League North Atlantic Conference. The New England Conference, is a little bit different, where the teams have to kind of earn the right to play in there. So it's almost like if you do well locally, you can get exposure regionally. And if you do poorly regionally, you're going to have to revert the local kind of status. So whereas the North Atlantic Conference is club-based and we're in automatic, the New England Conference is more team-based, which is good for us because there are some teams that are maybe just aren't there yet to be a second National League team. And we can provide that more local but high-quality soccer experience to kind of challenge them and push them towards that level.
Perfect. I'm going to move on. This one's for you, Ashley. I got, because I'm new to the club. Why are there so many boys here? Yeah, so I'll let you address that one.
Yeah, so there's basically there was more focus on the boys programs when it was Everton rather than, you know, evenly focused on boys and girls. Leanne and Marty, you know, brought me in to help develop and grow the girls program. And, you know, it went from 3 teams last year. This year we're at 7, you know, so we are growing. I think it has to do with consistency of, you know, promoting the girls program, you know, bringing in female coaches, as well as, you know, offering more. Now we have summer programs for them. You know, we're doing Zoom sessions, and, you know, it's.
I would say, actually, don't underestimate your role here, right? I know you're being modest, but I think just the fact that these young players have got a good female role model that played in college, coached at college level as well. And, you know, I think a parent told me yesterday, it's so good. You can be hard on these girls, but in a good way.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the age, you know, I have an expectation for the girls. You know, we want to develop, we want to compete, but we want to have fun too. And I think they understand that part, that when they work hard, it's fun. So I think in that sense, you know, the girls are smiling. You know, they know to work hard, and you know, it's sweat and it's grit, but at the end of the day, the consistency has them coming back. Every practice. I've heard from parents that they've never seen their daughter be so excited to go to practice.
Good.
I'm like, oh, well, thanks. So, you know, that's it. That's reassuring that we are doing our jobs right as a club, and you know, that's what I want to hear, is that they're having fun and they're enjoying it and they want to come back. And I think it's when they say that to their friends, it sparks interest in the program, that, oh, she's having fun going there. She's not dreading it. So it brings.
I think no player should be dreading going to practice at all, right? That's yeah, and it's stuff that I heard even just yesterday while you was on the field. I was talking to a parent yesterday, and those words were saying, and I think the confidence that you can instill in these players, and I think just the fact that, you know, these young ladies can come to, like I said, a female role model with questions that relate to the girls' game,
Right.
and the fact that you can help them and help them there. And then we've got more staff as well, haven't we?
Yes, we've brought in Caitlin Fudamenti. She's helping with the high school girls as well as the younger age group. We have Nicole, who's helping out with the goalkeepers.
Yeah.
As well as I believe is Alyssa going to help out a little bit this spring. We're in the summer.
she'll be around as well. Yeah, I think as the girls program grows, we'll invite more staff and more good female role models into the program. I think from like a club perspective, Ashley's recruitment, and Ashley and I coached together at Yale, and so we've known Ashley for quite a few years. The goal is to have a little bit of a renaissance for the program for the girls team, because once upon a time our girls premier team was very, very strong, and maybe the link with Everton in the Premier League was detrimental to that, because the focus shifted towards boys development and maybe finding that one boy who could go play for Everton at one stage. So you know, there's a real kind of huge potential for our girls program to grow, and that's why we've identified Ashley as a person to kind of lead it and help us develop and grow it. So it's going great.
Yeah, I mean, with that whole feeder into the Premier League, you know, the one thing that I'm a firm believer on is I want to see these girls get off to college, right? We want to bring them in at the young age. We want to develop them, and we want to send them off to the right universities, not just to play anywhere, but to put them in the right school that's a good fit for them. And I think a lot of parents, you know, appreciate that we want to keep the kids from the young age, develop them up, and then send them off. And I mean, you would know that more well, Marty, you know, sending more of the boys off to college.
Yeah, we want to get the girls program to the level where the boys are at. And again,
Yeah.
this year we have players that have already committed to D1, D2, D3 schools across the country. So that's the short term goal for the girls program, to kind of make it a parallel program to the boys.
Right.
I'm going to move on to the next one, which I'll try and answer. It's about the welcome pack, and something I know, Tom, with a lot of new players that have come in, you have been able to share our welcome pack, which is almost not really a prospectus, but it's almost like this, all the information that we're providing. And it is using our online platform. And for those players that don't know, we do have a comprehensive online platform on our website that gives, it's mostly for the players, more like stuff to do at home to improve on control, stuff to do at home. There's live Zoom classes that we've done, recordings of the live Zoom classes we've done. So there's no excuse if you miss a practice or anything like that, not to be able to get your sessions in. But the parent welcome pack is part of that package. And I think there was a slight frustration that some people have to register for that. It's just to be clear, it is all free. But by doing that, it's slightly different. Whereas in the days we used to have parent meetings, and it used to be on the field and whatnot, it used to be a little bit hit and miss because not all parents could get to the sessions. When I say the sessions, like get to the field afterwards. And obviously with COVID, we're not having parents come onto the field now. So this online platform provided that. And by registering, and we're always looking to change things, but by registering, that enables us as coaches to see which parents have looked at the information. So, the NEC versus NAC, parent expectations, player expectations, what you're going to be learning throughout the course of the year, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all in our welcome pack. And it is good to see every now and again these new players or their parents register for that. But they're the reasons why. So like we can, if there is a parent that hasn't registered for that, to see that, and then we can at least see that they have done that, rather than a parent going, oh, I didn't know this. And we say, well, look at the welcome pack, for example, expectations on playing time, uniform, where we're going to be going, what league we're in, et cetera, all the stuff that you would be doing in a parent meeting. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Marty, why can't you get turf time near Norwalk? It takes an hour and a half to drive to Milford. Now, I think that was a bit of an extreme case, but you're at the defense of the Milford fields right now.
No worries. I think, people who have been in close contact with across in the high school division, especially, know that I've worked diligently to get as much field time as possible. And it basically started with a narrow perimeter from Norwalk, and the perimeter kept stretching and stretching. Hence why you see, turf time in Ridgefield, turf time in Milford, turf time in West Haven. We actually had some turf time in North Brantford for a squad scrimmage. And the only reason why we have had to travel so far from base is that our typical sessions in the winter, which are Lilyfield, Wilton High School, and whenever we get in the early spring season, Fairfield University, both of them aren't open to outside rentals right now, for COVID reasons, right? Lilyfield's open for use for town teams only. No out of town teams are considered able to use it, and we're considered an out of town team. I coach college soccer in the same division as Fairfield University, and I know that the MAC conference is not allowing any campus to have outside rentals because the kids on campus are competing in the spring. So we're having an actual spring soccer season as opposed to fall, which means every player has to get tested once a week. There's rapid tests before games. So they're not going to bring any outside rentals into, threaten, the seasons that are going on right now. Beyond that, everywhere from St. Luke's, New Canaan, Norwalk High, Staples, Green Farms Academy, Boys and Girls Club of Westport. Trying to think where else. Every field that was a potential reach, I have reached out to and have been rejected from, and not simply because COVID issues, as well as other teams are renting those fields and have maxed out the time, so we couldn't squeeze in anywhere. And with that being said, the field space that we have been able to get, I didn't want to scrimp on it. We've paid more for fields with lights, 2 fields at Milford, and so on and so forth. So we've kind of gone out of our way. They make sure that if you have had to travel, then at least the facilities are top notch. So Notre Dame High School in West Haven was great. The YMCA in Milford has been great because there's such a nice facility. And I think the alternative was doing what some other clubs are doing, is meeting up at a beach and going for a beach run, or meeting up for a road run, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a weird year. It's been a challenge, certainly, to nail down field time and turf time. I've just now finally been able to confirm, for me personally, like high school games for boys, and I've got some spare turf time to get the girls on the turf fields for high school games as well, so that we're not beating up All Saints. Obviously the goal is to restructure that in due course, but ultimately, it's not without a want of trying to find more local field space. We would have paid more to find more local field space, but basically it's the first, anything that became available, we grabbed it. And
I think as well, Marty, the fact that with the border there as well, the New York border, we weren't allowed to go over to practice in New York, especially in the winter as well.
Yeah. So we were bound by lots of restrictions. I did a broad and elaborate search, everywhere from Stratford, the Stratford fields down on the grass by the sea, and it was windy and freezing. So anything that became available I snapped up, just so that we could have a maximum opportunity to practice and play and compete.
Yeah. Which brings me on to the next question. When are we getting turf? Because I know the message went out to the club, I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
A week ago, yeah. Listen, me, I'd love to get turf as soon as possible. We sent a message out to the club. We've had good feedback from some parents who are kind of in the initial stages of helping us with architecture, kind of land evaluations and all that sort of stuff. So there's been some people that have reached out to us about connecting us and getting meetings set up so that we can get designs. When we get the turf will depend on how well we do in terms of fundraising, and getting our ducks in a row for financing and making sure that everything's affordable. So we're in the embryonic stages of it. But at least now there's an embryo, whereas before it was we've always, since I've joined the club in 2014, there's always been talk about it, but now we've actually got the green light from the diocese to go and do it, which means that we'll be pushing for it. So that email alluded to the fact that there's a lot of work to do, and it's kind of scary. We don't own the land, so it's we have to kind of make sure that the agreement is satisfactory for the club, and we'll extend our lease. We have a long-term lease right now, but we'll need to be extended. So there'll be lots of red tape, but it's doable. What's the two windows we identified in our wildest dreams, we'd be able to do it this winter, but that's a mammoth task. Realistically, maybe next summer we can break ground. But again, it'll really all depends on how diligent we are with managing our funds and fundraising and getting everybody collectively working together.
All right. That's exciting news. And I'm just going to move on here while my alarm goes off. I'm getting a lot of emails about college IDs. Can you explain pros and cons? And I'm going to move that over to Ashley, because I know you just recently did a webinar on that for our players.
Yeah. So first thing, so the webinar will be up once we splice it and, upload it per topic per each segment of the webinar. We will be putting that up because I know that was one of the questions I received from a parent. So we will get that up, but there are a lot of camps and college ID clinics out there. What I would suggest is, look at where the camp or clinic is. What's the cost of it? Are there schools that you're interested in? And what year you are. I think if you're looking at Division I's and you're a junior or senior, you're a little bit behind the 8 ball with those recruiting schools. If it's, you want to go to Division III, you can go through the process as late as your senior year. I think it's all a timing piece. I think in regards to camps and clinics in the recruiting process, I think that your 8th grade, 9th grade, I think you want to start to look a little bit into it, dip your toes in the water, just to get a feel of everything. But basically it comes down to the financial piece, because camps and clinics are a lot of money. You can hit up one of the Future 500s or the exact sports, where you're going to get 20, 30 coaches looking at you. And then you can even go deeper into the school specific IDs where where you want to go, you want to get in front of that coach. I recommend them. The coaches there at the ID clinics and the ID camps, can look at you deeper. They're not going to spend 10, 15 minutes as opposed to, the showcases where coaches are trying to look at 100 players in one day. So there's a lot of value to those camps and clinics. You're with the coach all day. They really can get an understanding of your skills, but also your personality. At the same time, you're interviewing the coach too. You're seeing if you like that coach. Do you like, their style?
That's a good point. Actually, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. A lot of parents and players don't understand but that while they're looking at you, you're judging them too and interviewing them. Sometimes you might get on campus and you might not like the coach. This is giving you the opportunity to do that beforehand. So it's all in how much you want to invest into the process.
It's and I think, like we said, that webinar will go deeper into that about more, the benefits of going to a good school without soccer.
Right.
More than anything, and just to be aware of some of the reasons why people do ID camps as well, or schools do ID camps without going into that now. That's something we can share.
Yeah, I mean, we could always set up another webinar down the road with a different cluster of coaches. Yeah. So that was nice to get different perspectives.
Here's one for you, Tom, and this was asked yesterday. And I think it affects both Ashley, Tom, and Marty here in the way that it's done. High school, 8th grade. Can you play next year? And as you know, we do a mixed team in the fall for players that are it's 8th grade, isn't it? That don't go to high school. But because we do per birth year, there's some players. So for example, 2006s this year stayed and played with us in the fall, because all their age group went to high school. But here's a question. Can you play, and we're going to do that again this year, 2007 to 2000, we'll be playing with the 2008s because the 2007s are in high school for the fall. And there's pros and cons to that. And the main thing is that the players are playing when they normally wouldn't. But can you play in 9th grade if you don't want to play freshman soccer, or there isn't a freshman team and you don't make the varsity team? And that came, I know we researched that and got to John Tate. Tom, I'm going to give you that one.
Yeah. So touching straight away on the 8th graders, if they are the ones that aren't going to high school, we definitely have something for them. We just got to see how many of them there are. If there is, let's say, 14 of them, then we would create their own team, and then 2007s would play with us in the fall. If there is only, a select few, which has happened to us in previous years, then we would just add them in with the 2008s. So it would be a mixture for the fall season. And then as soon as the fall season finishes, kind of around Thanksgiving time, that's when they look to join their own age group. So they would go in and jump on with Marty's high school guys once they start practicing in kind of after or around Thanksgiving. And same with the girls, once the commitment to the 08-07 team finishes and the rest of the group comes back, then they can jump on and play with the age group. As for the ninth graders, they're more than welcome as well. They can play with us based on, not making a team, not having a high school team to play on, just not thinking they're ready yet physically, mentally, socially for that high school environment. Then yes, we would find some form of league or some form of team just to keep those active, because the last thing we want is for them to have a great spring season, enjoy the summer with us, and then not play soccer for September through November, and then look to start back up when the rest of the old teammates have finished high school. So the answer is yes, there's definitely something there for them to do. We just need to see how it falls. This year with the 2011s, 2006s, we was lucky to have 11 players. So, we had a lot of them, we kept them involved. And then as soon as their commitment had finished with the younger side, they jumped straight back in and played straight away with Mai. So, in a perfect world, if we could get between 11 and 14, we could just keep that as their own group. If not, then we can look to put them in with the 2008s just for, the fall season. And then that's them guys taken care of and they're still playing.
Yeah, I think from that, it's there are benefits to be those players being leaders as well. And I'm right in thinking, Ashley, you're doing your due diligence already on the 2007s that are going to be staying behind, and how that will look next year with the 2008s. And I know you are as well, Tom. But just so people were aware, they're not allowed to play in the National League, though,
Correct.
are they?
Yeah, correct. They're not allowed to play in that NAC team. So it would have to be the 2008. And as Marty said earlier on, the New England conference that we play in doesn't actually start until the high school age group. So they'll be in a very good competitive bracket. But no, it would all be inside kind of Fairfield County area, maybe, more into Northern Connecticut. They wouldn't be going to the usual kind of games that they played against, the New York teams or Long Island teams, just because that's the league rule. And as Marty said before, it's club v club. So each club's in the same position. So we just don't have a team at that age group for them 8th graders.
Great. I'm going to move on. And talking of enabling players to play, Marty, I know as a club, we've managed to help some players of various age groups that all of a sudden don't have a team to play. And that has created for you, Marty, with the a lot of 2006s come into the squad. And it said, and I don't know, parents said there's a third team. I don't know if that's how it's exactly set up, but it says, with regards to 2006 squad and the addition of a third team, will the teams be switched up each week to a mixed roster depending on what game, or will the boys have a set team and schedule?
Yeah, so we've had an influx of 06 players who found themselves without the opportunity to play. And we've found ourselves in the position where we can give them a good soccer experience. When they were faced with basically despair, they didn't know what they would do. Very simply broken down, we're not going to have 3 squads per se. We only have 2 beefed up practice squads. So we're going to go from 18 players to maybe 21, 22 players in the practice squads. The worry maybe for some is that the influx of new players will take away some of their playing time, and they've been registered since last May, June, and so on and so forth. But that's not the case. What it allows us to do is actually have 2 training squads, but entering 3 different divisions. That 3rd division has been confirmed as of a few days ago. So ultimately, it will mean the players get more opportunities to play. There'll be more playing time available than last year. and there'll be more playing time available the next year too. It will revert to 2 squads playing in 2 divisions. We just reached out an olive branch to players who were in limbo at a critical time in their development and didn't want them to miss out. And it provided us an opportunity to get our guys who were currently involved actually more opportunities to play should they want it. So we have our rosters that are NAC and NEC centric right now. The new guys that come in, I think there's 8 or 9 of them. They'll play together in this 3rd division and will supplement their roster with players from both teams each week, if that makes sense. So it's, each week there'll be an opportunity for 6, 7 of our players that have been involved to play a second game, should they want it. And I know some people might not want it, but a lot of people I know already do want to play that, get those extra minutes under their belt in the 06 age group. So I think it's going to work out very beneficial for all. Logistically, we knew it was going to be a little bit of a challenge as a club, just to enter that 3rd division and maybe double, triple roster players and make sure the players were attending games. We've got 3 goalkeepers in that age group, so now all of a sudden each goalkeeper can play a full game each weekend. So that's great for our goalkeepers' development. But yeah, so it puts us in a pretty strong place from a 2006 standpoint as we look into next year.
Good. I'm conscious of the time, so I'm going to move on quickly, and we can answer this as we need. Here, you're going to have new kit next year. What's it going to look like? When can I buy it, and how much will it cost? I think the answer to that is we're still finalizing the deal, right, Marty?
Yeah, so right now it looks like we're going to go with Nike across the board. We did have our bespoke kit that had its pros and cons. It was definitely more affordable and you got more items for your buck. I think though, to be a uniform approach and kind of move things forward across the board, I think Nike's a good option. We've talked to Puma, Adidas, considered Hummel, but I think Nike's the one that we're going to go with. But what it's going to look like is going to be, whereas we had the squares and the sash before, going to be classic all black or all white. I think the girls will have black shorts even with their white kits, so they'll look white, black, white.
There's an exciting color as well to be revealed.
Yeah, there's an exciting training color for our training / tournament shirts. But yeah, it's good. Like I think that the biggest, when you do go with such a high brand, I think it's going to be a little bit more expensive than what the pre-high school stuff was this past couple of years. We're going to make sure that the mandatory order isn't everything that one might need, but if somebody needs to buy that extra rain jacket or extra bag or extra long sleeve sweater, they'll have the option to buy it, or hoodies or so on and so forth. So where we have the uniform kind of kit across the board and it's all Nike, it's great. A little bit more expensive than the previous kit. I think from a club perspective and also managing those kits, it was a challenge as well. So we can fob it all off to soccer and rugby and Nike to do all the logistical stuff, shirt numbering and all that sort of stuff. So it'll be good. The Nike stuff's really nice. The high school guys currently wear it. And I'm sure everybody will be excited to go Nike across the board.
And then what I would say for that, we are looking, it does give us an opportunity to have a sponsor, right? On the front of the shirt, at the back, or on the sides. And that money used will help to keep the costs down, and for the 2-year deal with the sponsorship, and and it will go for the shirts and obviously help towards the turf, as well. But predominantly,
there's multiple. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
No, I was gonna say predominantly it will be used to try and keep the cost of uniforms down.
There's multiple. There'll be multiple sponsorship options on the shirt. I think that there's a package going out there or will be live either now or pretty soon, which details all the information. The main package, the main sponsor, keeps the cost of the uniform down as much as possible, over a course of a 2-year period, and then the other kind of opportunities to sponsor will go towards stuff like finance and turf and all that jazz. So yeah, exciting times.
Cool. Here's one. How does the USL Academy affect my 2010 son or daughter? Well, no, but yeah, because the USL is with the boys, and we can talk about maybe some stuff actually with the girls moving forward. But if you're 2010, what does this USL Academy mean to those players?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one, and maybe Marty can touch on more, how it gets to once they get older and actually can, dip their toes into that environment. For me, I see it as a very, very exciting opportunity for our guys. In previous years, when we was a different club, we had pathways where we kind of pushed our kids away from the club. I'm hoping with this pathway now to the USL, we can kind of help keep our guys together, which would then allow our teams to stay as a group for many years to move through, where in previous years we would have unfortunately had to lose, your upper end of the roster and say, hey, go and see if you can play at the next level, where we now have that next level all taken care of with inside the club. And the big thing for me with these younger guys is we can't really start, the USL right now at that 2010 age group, which has been asked. But the idea is, can we do something involving ourselves and our partners at AC Connecticut so these guys can start to interact with each other and maybe do things during the summer? Could we do a summer team where, a select group of our guys that we think, potential candidates for this, and we can ask the same things from AC Connecticut, and we can go and enter them into a few tournaments, when the commitment to Inter Connecticut isn't as necessarily as high, instead of maybe having our guys play in a Chelsea Piers Winter League, maybe we, merge them and we send them to a few winter tournaments as well. So I think that option of, growing alongside your team at Inter Connecticut and also seeing where you could go, when you get to the high school age groups. I know Marty's got some exciting news about, the kids who have been with us for a long time. One player in particular who's, going to go all the way through and hopefully represent us at the USL level, and if you can stay with us and you're going to go from my coaching and my program, and then you go straight into Marty's program, the consistency is going to be there. You're going to know exactly what you're getting, and you don't have to keep looking at what's the next best thing. You know what I mean? Because not always is the grass greener. And right now Marty has quite a lot of guys who've made that jump earlier when they was with me to go and look at what's this shiny object that's academy or even pre-academy. And now they're all back with Marty at the high school age group anyway, thinking, it wasn't really what we hoped. So we're hoping that helps us keep our guys together at the 2010, 11s, 9s age group. And then, when they get into Marty's age group, they can really experience, and Marty can give us a little bit more information about that and what it means when you get to the high school age group.
Yeah, well, I think for every age group, and we're working to create something similar on the girls' side. It means we're casting a more evaluative eye over you and your progression. We're holding you to a higher standard. We're also holding ourselves as a coaching staff to a higher educational standard. What information are we giving the players? Because now it's not that there's kind of finite clubs experience, right? We can push on to that next level into the USL Academy, hopefully into the USL, and now with our collaboration with AC Connecticut now being linked to Hartford, there is an extra level of progression. So I think what it means directly for the 2010s and the 9s and the 8s and 7s and even the 11s and 12s, we're now really in the process of talent identification, with a big group of talented players. And it's like whenever we play, AC Connecticut, coaches will be casting eyes from a different perspective, not just with a desire to compete, play well, and maybe win the game, but also, who's this player or who's that player that might kind of be involved in the future at the USL Academy. Right now, there's no pre-academy teams per se, but with someone that's being talked about, and if they come to fruition, then we'll look to have the similar collaboration on the girls' side.
I think that the thing to remember as well with it's U19, but 50% of those players have to be U17. So all of a sudden now we're talking 2004s, some 2005s. There was a 2006 and 2005 group. So that next year will be 2007s, and so it's not long before you're involved, right? And I think the mantra with the USL is if you're good enough, you're old enough.
Yeah, it's a U19 team, but has stipulations. They have a specific amount of U17s with the doors open. They have U16s and 15s involved, so there could be a current 2006 that's good enough play on the U19 level. So they're not. Yeah, as Leon says, it's not too far around the corner for your 2010s. Honestly, those 4 seasons of soccer go by quite quickly, and all of a sudden you may be in consideration as an elite young Inter-Connecticut player. They play at the USL Academy level, and maybe if not ready to play physically and emotionally, maybe get involved with the team from a training perspective, and then kind of get to understand that environment a little bit better. So across the board, it's a more kind of evaluative eye, just making sure that our players are developing the right way and the attitudes right, and their commitment to the team and commitment to Enter Connecticut allows them that opportunity further down the line to play at the USL Academy level.
And we were adamant, weren't we, Marty, that was fully funded?
Yeah, so we're still talking about the pre-academy. If pre-academies do occur, there might be a small fee. There is a small fee for the USL Academy if players make it, but we've decided as a club that if any of the Inter-Connecticut players make it to the actual USL Academy team, that will cover the cost of that fee. Pre-academy might be a little bit different because there's some fundraising that's involved to make sure that academy system kind of is self-sufficient, but we're covering the cost of any of our guys who actually make the pre-academy team, or no, sorry, the USL Academy team, not the pre-academy.
Cool. And I'm conscious also that I did cut you off as you was talking about our plans for the female side as well. So sorry about that, Ashley. Ashley, it's something that the girls program wants to aspire to as well, right?
Yeah, we've been bouncing ideas around with Marty and yourself about having regional summer teams with collaborating with other clubs, getting it to that level, even doing a summer inter-select team where we go to a couple tournaments here and there to give them outside experience outside our region and into other regions, and playing different teams and giving them that exposure. But like you said, we're getting there. These are future plans.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I think there's nothing wrong as well with summer collaboration with some of our affiliates as well. So that's in the pipeline. I'm going to finish off, Tom. I know that I've left a couple of questions out, which I can answer separately to people, but I think that there has been one about Needham. And what is Needham? I know, because I think it's easy for us as coaches, having done it for 10 years or so, to know what it means exactly. But for those people that are new, can you give a quick explanation?
Yeah, definitely. Needham is a tournament in Needham, Massachusetts that we go on Memorial Weekend. So we go up there. There'll be no practices on the Friday before Memorial Weekend because we have to be up there. Usually our first game is Saturday morning. So we have a hotel reserved for the younger teams, which I've already communicated with all of the teams. So what I mean by younger teams is 2007 below. The high school teams that are going, that'll come from your high school coach. So it'll come from Ashley, Caitlin, Colin, Pedro, Thomas, all those other guys that are going to be working in that area. So if you've not got anything regarding that yet, just touch base with them. But all the information's coming. The big thing for the hotel aspect of it is the cutoff date, which is kind of the end of April, beginning of May. So if you miss the cutoff date, it doesn't mean you can't go. It just means that you won't get the discount associated with the club. And you have to do 2 days there. So to get the discount and to get the block booking in the same hotel that we're all in, you have to go Friday and Saturday. Now, the finals, if hopefully we make it, in previous years, we've done quite well at this tournament, is on Monday of Memorial Day. And you have to extend your stay on Saturday evening, knowing that you'll need Sunday. But you don't have to book that straight away. And again, this is only a U11 and older bracket, so it only starts at the 9v9 format. So if you're a 2013, a 2012, a 2011, your time will come. every year we like to go to this tournament, and it's a really fun, enjoyable weekend where we can kind of spend a lot of time with our families off the field. In previous years, I know me and Leon went on a duck tour of Boston, and we jumped on that with the team. It was good fun. We got to meet families that, don't really realize that you can actually wear clothes that aren't soccer related, and you're actually a real person away from the field. So it's good just to get to know people. Me and Leon have been doing this for a long time, so a lot of people know who we are, but it's great, for our newer coaches, get to meet Coach Aaron, get to, a better understanding of Colin and Anthony. Even if you're on the boys' side, get to spend some time with Ashley and some of the female coaches, because, that's the big thing. We want to be a family club. We want to make sure everyone knows who everyone is and, have the opportunity to speak. So it's a great way to, finish out, hopefully, what's been a bit of a crazy year, a nice big event that we can all get through. Just touching on, I don't like to always go back to it, but touching on COVID again, if for some reason we can't travel or the tournament doesn't go and there's a spike in Massachusetts, if you book your hotel, you will be 100% refunded. If we can't travel, the tournament doesn't happen, 100% get your money back. For those guys that have been with us for a while, that's exactly what happened last year. We was planning to go to the tournament last spring. It got cancelled, and everyone got the full refund. You won't be given a credit or anything like that. It will be straight money, straight back to you guys.
Perfect. And it's more about the experience, I think, especially the younger players. I know there's the college showcases for the older guys, but certainly for some of our players, it's the first time that they're going to tournament and away from home and doing the hotel business and the dinners and everything. And as coaches, I think it's a great way to provide some life lessons as well. I know there's parents that haven't left enough time to get to the field before, and people that have turned up with the wrong uniform. There's life lessons there that can be learned, and overexerting yourself, for example, on or going crazy in the swimming pool and then not being able to play very well like 2 hours later. All good life lessons for these young boys and girls. And for Marty, I know the tournament is well established for college coaches as well, right?
Yeah. So no, it's a big weekend for college recruitment, Memorial Day. I don't think the Division 1 college coaches will actually be able to recruit still at that point, but there'll be loads of Division 2. There'll be even more to D2 and D3 schools. They're looking to pick up some talent at the tournament. So,
and that's because of the dead period, Marty?
Yeah, the college dead period is extended to the end of May, which falls 2 days after Memorial Day weekend. But it could get extended further. Who knows? But what they will do is they'll video every game and they'll live stream games so the college coaches can watch from home. So even though they might not be there in person, the D1 college coaches, if they're interested in a player, they can certainly watch it. But certainly you'll see Division 2 and Division 3 schools on the sidelines.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for your time today. And if you have listened the whole way through, congratulations for our dulcet tones. But we're going to try and get this out through YouTube or something like that so people can listen. And then maybe once I have diced and spliced it, maybe we can break it down into different questions. What I would say is if you do have any further questions, as you can see, we're very approachable. Let us know. We do have our office hours. If you look on the website and under the contacts, we do have our office hours where you can book a time where you can speak to the appropriate person, Tom, Ashley, myself, Marty, or even one of the coaches directly, and we could go from there. But emails as well, info@interctfc.com. I think that's it. Any departing words of wisdom, anyone?
Train hard, play hard.
There you go. Not a lot of wisdom in there between us. But all right, thanks everyone, and see you soon. Bye.
Peace. See you later.
Bye.